Hello everyone, and welcome to Erica English Channel. My name is Erica, and today I want to help you learn how to talk about your hometown in English, a topic that's not only interesting, but also very useful in real-life conversations. When people meet for the first time, one of the most common questions is, "Where are you from?" or "What's your hometown like?" Knowing how to answer this naturally will help you sound confident and friendly. You can start simply by saying, "I'm from Kabul," or "My hometown is Madrid." Then add a little detail to make your answer more interesting. "It's a beautiful city surrounded by mountains," or "It's a small town near the sea." When you describe your hometown, think about its location, size, and what makes it special. You can say, "It's in the north of my country," or "It's famous for its delicious food and friendly people." Your hometown tells your story. It's part of who you are. So today, let's learn how to describe it with pride, personality, and perfect English. When you describe your hometown, start with its location. This is a simple but important detail. You can say, "My hometown is in the north of Italy," or "It's a small village in southern India." The phrases "in the north of" and "in the south of" help you talk about where your hometown is. You can also describe how far it is from another city. "It's about 2 hours from the capital," or "It's close to the seaside." These short phrases make your sentences sound natural and fluent. If you live in a big city, you can say, "It's a busy city with lots of traffic and tall buildings." But if your hometown is quiet, you might say, "It's a peaceful place with clean air and friendly people." To make your English more interesting, add adjectives like beautiful, crowded, traditional, modern, or historic. For example, "My hometown is a historic town full of old buildings." Learning to describe your hometown's location and atmosphere helps you build strong, real-life English sentences, perfect for conversations, travel, or introductions. Another great way to describe your hometown is by talking about its weather and climate. This makes your description sound more alive and natural. You can say, "My hometown is usually warm and sunny," or "It's very cold in winter but nice in summer." Use simple adjectives to describe the weather: hot, cold, cool, windy, rainy, snowy, or humid. For example, "It rains a lot in spring," or "We often get snow in January." You can also describe how people feel about the weather. Try saying, "I love the warm sunshine in my town," or "Sometimes the heat makes people stay indoors." These expressions sound real and emotional. If your hometown has special seasons, talk about them. In autumn, the trees turn orange and red, or in summer, families go swimming in the river. When you talk about the weather, you don't just teach people about your hometown, you also learn to use everyday English naturally, with feelings and details that make your story memorable. When you talk about your hometown, people also love to hear about the people who live there. You can say, "The people in my hometown are kind and helpful," or "Everyone knows each other because it's a small town." If you come from a big city, you can say, "People are busy, but they are polite and hardworking." For smaller towns, you can say, "People are friendly and neighbors often visit each other." You can also talk about your hometown's culture or traditions. For example, "People in my town love to celebrate festivals," or "We have traditional music and dances during special events." These sentences not only describe your town, but also show part of your heart and identity. Try adding useful adjectives like friendly, generous, cheerful, proud, and welcoming. Example, "The people in my hometown are cheerful and always ready to help visitors." Talking about the people of your hometown helps others understand the spirit of your place, and it makes your English sound warm, natural, and full of life. Another interesting way to describe your hometown is by talking about its food, because food tells a story about every place. You can start with, "My hometown is famous for its traditional dishes," or "People here love spicy food." You can describe your favorite local meals. We eat rice with vegetables and lamb, or there's a delicious soup made with herbs and yogurt. The phrase famous for is perfect when you want to explain what your town is known for. For example, my hometown is famous for its bread and kebabs. If there are local desserts, you can say, we have sweet pastries that everyone enjoys during celebrations, or my grandmother makes the best traditional cookies. When talking about food, try using sensory words: delicious, tasty, spicy, sweet, crunchy, and fragrant. Example, the food in my hometown is simple but full of flavor. Describing your hometown's food is not just about taste, it's about memories, culture, and love. When you share these details in English, people feel connected to your story, and that makes your language truly come alive. When you talk about your hometown, people also love to hear about the people who live there. You can say, the people in my hometown are kind and helpful, or everyone knows each other because it's a small town. If you come from a big city, you can say, people are busy, but they are polite and hardworking. For smaller towns, you can say, people are friendly and neighbors often visit each other. You can also talk about your hometown's culture or traditions. For example, people in my town love to celebrate festivals, or we have traditional music and dances during special events. These sentences not only describe your town, but also show part of your heart and identity. Try adding useful adjectives like friendly, generous, cheerful, proud, and welcoming. Example, the people in my hometown are cheerful and always ready to help visitors. Talking about the people of your hometown helps others understand the spirit of your place, and it makes your English sound warm, natural, and full of life. Another interesting way to describe your hometown is by talking about its food, because food tells a story about every place. You can start with, my hometown is famous for its traditional dishes, or people here love spicy food. You can describe your favorite local meals. We eat rice with vegetables and lamb, or there's a delicious soup made with herbs and yogurt. The phrase famous for is perfect when you want to explain what your town is known for. For example, my hometown is famous for its bread and kebabs. If there are local desserts, you can say, we have sweet pastries that everyone enjoys during celebrations, or my grandmother makes the best traditional cookies. When talking about food, try using sensory words: delicious, tasty, spicy, sweet, crunchy, and fragrant. Example, the food in my hometown is simple but full of flavor. Describing your hometown's food is not just about taste, it's about memories, culture, and love. When you share these details in English, people feel connected to your story, and that makes your language truly come alive. One of the best things to mention about your hometown is its places and landmarks, the spots that make it special or unique. You can say, my hometown has a beautiful river that runs through the center, or there's an old castle that tourists love to visit. If your town has natural beauty, describe it with feeling. We have green mountains, fresh air, and clear blue skies. If it's more modern, you might say, there are shopping malls, tall buildings, and busy streets. Both ways show personality. Use words like bridge, park, market, square, museum, temple, mosque, church, lake, or mountain to add real details. Example, there's a big market where people buy fruits and vegetables every morning. You can also use expressions like, my favorite place in town is, or one of the most popular places is. For example, my favorite place in my hometown is the old park near my school. It's quiet and full of memories. Describing places gives your listener a picture of your world and helps you practice vocabulary that makes your English rich, colorful, and full of meaning. When describing your hometown, you can also talk about the activities people enjoy there. This makes your story sound lively and full of action. You can say, people in my town love going to the market on weekends, or many families go for picnics by the river. If it's a city, you can describe city life. People enjoy shopping, eating out, and watching movies at the cinema. For a smaller town, say, people like walking in nature, visiting friends, or having tea together. These simple sentences show everyday culture. You can also talk about sports and festivals. For example, children play football after school, or we celebrate a spring festival with music and dancing. Use active verbs like enjoy, celebrate, play, visit, and relax to make your sentences dynamic. To sound natural, add time expressions such as on weekends, in the evening, during summer, every year. Example, during summer, people swim in the lake to cool down. When you describe what people do in your hometown, you give life to your words and help your listener feel the rhythm, joy, and heart of your home. Another wonderful way to talk about your hometown is by sharing some of its history. You can start with something simple like, my hometown is very old and has a long history, or it was founded more than 200 years ago. These phrases show pride and knowledge about your roots. If your town has historical places, mention them. There's an ancient fort built during the king's rule, or we have a traditional bazaar that's been open for generations. The word ancient means very old, and for generations means something that has continued for a long time in families. You can also talk about changes over time. For example, it used to be a small village, but now it's a modern city, or many old houses were replaced by new buildings. The phrase used to is very useful for describing the past in English. Adding short facts or stories makes your description more interesting. Try saying, my grandfather told me stories about how people traveled by horse before cars existed. When you share the history of your hometown, you not only teach new vocabulary, you bring your culture, family, and identity into your English story. When describing your hometown, you can make it even more interesting by talking about education and schools there. You can say, my hometown has several schools and one university, or there's a famous high school known for its sports team. These details show how your town supports learning and community growth. If your town is small, you can say, we only have one school, but the teachers are very kind, or children walk to school because everything is close. For bigger cities, you might say, there are many schools, training centers, and libraries. To talk about your own experience, use phrases like, I studied at the local school near my house, or my favorite subject was English because it opened new opportunities for me. You can also add expressions like, education is very important in my town, or parents always encourage their children to study hard. Talking about schools gives people a clear idea of your hometown's values and lifestyle, and it's a great chance to use English vocabulary about education in a natural way. When you talk about your hometown, you can also describe the jobs and economy, what people do for a living. You can say, most people in my hometown are farmers, or many people work in shops and offices. These sentences show the lifestyle and daily rhythm of your community. If your town is near the sea, you can say, fishing is a common job here, or people sell fresh fish in the local market. In mountain areas, you might say, many people raise animals and make dairy products. To talk about growing towns, you can say, new businesses are opening, or more young people are starting their own companies. This shows progress and development. You can also mention traditional work. Some people still make handmade carpets, or my grandmother sells homemade bread in the bazaar. The word homemade means made at home, not in a factory. Talking about jobs helps you practice useful words like farmer, worker, shopkeeper, teacher, driver, and builder. It also shows how proud you are of your hardworking people, the heart of every community.
A lovely part of describing your hometown is talking about its nature and environment. You can say, my hometown is surrounded by green hills, or there's a beautiful river that runs through the center. Words like surrounded by, located near, and covered with help make your English sound smooth and descriptive. If your hometown is near the sea, you can say, the beach is full of life, especially in summer. Or, I love walking by the ocean at sunset. For a mountain town, you might say, the air is fresh and you can hear birds singing in the morning. You can also describe how the environment affects people's lives. For example, because of the clean air, people are healthy. Or, the cold winters make everyone enjoy hot tea and family time. To make your language colorful, use adjectives like green, peaceful, quiet, natural, clean, and beautiful. Example, my hometown is peaceful and full of natural beauty. When you talk about nature, you invite your listeners into your world, a world of sounds, colors, and feelings, and that's where your English truly comes alive. When describing your hometown, it's also nice to talk about the transportation and ways people travel. You can start with something simple like, my hometown has many buses and taxis, or most people use motorcycles to get around. The phrase get around means to travel from one place to another. If you live in a big city, you can say, there's heavy traffic during rush hours, or we have a metro system that makes travel easier. For smaller towns, you might say, people usually walk because everything is close, or we use bicycles to go to the market. You can also describe roads and connections. There's a main road that connects my town to the capital, or buses leave every hour for nearby villages. These small details make your sentences sound realistic and complete. Try adding expressions like on foot, by bus, by car, by train, by bike. Example, I go to school by bike, or my father goes to work by car. Transportation is a big part of daily life. When you describe it in English, you show how your hometown moves, its rhythm, its sound, and its connection to the world. Your hometown isn't just a place, it's full of memories. When you describe it, try sharing some personal stories. You can say, I grew up playing in the streets with my friends. Or, I used to climb trees near my house. The phrase used to is perfect for talking about things you did often in the past, but don't do anymore. You can describe places from your childhood. There was a small shop where I bought ice cream. Or, my school was close to a beautiful park. Using there was and there were helps you talk naturally about the past. If you moved away, you might say, I miss the quiet mornings and the smell of fresh bread from the bakery. Or, every corner of my town reminds me of my childhood. These kinds of sentences bring emotion and warmth to your English. When you tell personal stories, use feeling words like happy, peaceful, safe, simple, and unforgettable. For example, my childhood in that town was simple but full of love. Describing memories turns your English from just words into a story, your story, one that listeners will feel in their hearts. Another beautiful way to describe your hometown is by talking about its festivals and celebrations. You can say, we celebrate a big festival every spring. Or, people in my town love to decorate their houses during New Year. These sentences help you share your culture and local traditions. If it's a religious or cultural event, explain it simply. We wear traditional clothes and cook special food. Or, families gather together to share stories and gifts. You can use verbs like celebrate, enjoy, dance, sing, decorate, and visit to make your description lively. Try adding time expressions such as every year, in summer, in winter, or during holidays. Example, during winter, we celebrate with bonfires, music, and laughter. You can also express emotions. Festivals make me feel proud of my hometown. Or, I love how everyone comes together like one big family. When you talk about festivals, you don't just describe your hometown, you invite others to feel its joy, color, and togetherness. It's a perfect way to show your heart and your English at the same time. Your hometown is more than a place. It's a feeling. You can describe how it feels to you and what it means to you. You can say, my hometown feels like peace to me. Or, whenever I go back, I feel calm and happy. The phrase go back means to return to a place where you belong. If you live far away now, you can say, I miss my hometown so much. Or,
I think about it every time I see a sunset. Words like miss, remember, and love make your English emotional and human. You can also describe the connection you have. I grew up there, so every street has a memory. Or, my hometown shaped who I am today. The verb shaped means to influence or help form your character. If you feel proud, say, I'm proud to be from there, or it will always be a special part of me. Talking about your feelings adds warmth and soul to your story. When you share your heart in English, people don't just hear your words, they feel your story. Every hometown has its own sounds and smells, small details that make it unforgettable. You can say, in the morning, I hear birds singing outside my window. Or, the sound of children playing always makes me smile. These sentences use the senses to bring your story to life. To describe smells, you might say, the air smells fresh after the rain. Or, the bakery near my house smells sweet every morning. The verbs smell and sound are perfect for describing sensory memories, things you experience without thinking. You can also describe the atmosphere. My town feels alive with music. Or, at night, everything becomes calm and peaceful. Words like fresh, lively, quiet, peaceful, and busy add strong emotion to your description. Using your senses makes your English more vivid and powerful. When listeners can imagine what you see, hear, and smell, your hometown becomes real in their minds, not just a place, but a living memory. When you describe your hometown, you can also talk about how it has changed over time. You can say, my hometown looks very different now, or it has grown so much in the last 10 years. The verb has grown is perfect for showing change that started in the past and continues today. You can compare the past and present. It used to be quiet, but now it's full of new shops and restaurants. Or, before, the roads were small, but now they are wide and modern. The phrase used to helps you talk about how things were before. If you want to sound more natural, add feeling. Sometimes I miss the old days, or I'm happy my town is developing. This balance of emotion and fact makes your English sound real. You can also say, new buildings, parks, and schools have been built, or many young people are opening businesses. The present perfect tense, have plus past participle, is great for describing recent changes. Talking about how your hometown has changed shows your growth, your memories, and your connection to it, because as your town changes, you change too. When you describe your hometown, it's also interesting to talk about the future, what you hope or imagine it will become. You can say, I hope my hometown will continue to grow. Or, in the future, I want it to stay clean and peaceful. The phrase will continue to shows hope for progress, and I want it to stay shows care and pride. If you dream of improvements, try saying, I hope we'll have more parks and schools, or I wish the roads were safer for children. The word wish is great for expressing dreams or small regrets. You can also talk about your personal role. I want to do something good for my hometown, or one day I'll return and help my community. These sentences show love and responsibility, powerful feelings that sound beautiful in any language. You might also add a hopeful tone. My hometown is changing, but I believe it will always keep its heart. When you speak about the future, you're not just describing a place, you're expressing vision, hope, and connection. That's the language of someone who loves where they come from. Every hometown holds a story of people, places, love, and time. When you describe your hometown in English, you share more than words. You share your heart, your history, and your identity. You can say, "My hometown is where my story began," or "No matter where I go, it will always be home." The word home is not just a place, it's a feeling of belonging. You can also reflect with gratitude. "I'm thankful for everything my hometown taught me," or "It made me who I am today." The phrase "made me who I am" means it shaped your character and values. To end your story naturally, you can say, "Whenever I think of my hometown, I smile," or "It's a place I will always carry in my heart." Your hometown is a bridge between your past and your future. Describing it helps you practice English, but more importantly, it helps you remember who you are. Thank you for listening to Erica English Channel. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and comment. Keep learning, keep growing, and never forget the place that started your journey.